Ladies and gentlemen, I commend you. You're back in the 20 minutes. Thank you so much for rejoining us. It now gives me great pleasure. Yeah, that's Sanjeev. He's the ringmaster here. It now gives me great pleasure to present to you Peter McCaskill, who will be introducing our keynote speaker. Peter, I think some of you know, is the Chief Operating Officer of NSBI. He joined that organization in 2002 as Director of Compliance and Risk Management. He became its Vice President in 2012 and its COO in 2015. Prior to NSBI, Peter spent 8 years with TD Waterhouse in Toronto, where he managed operations departments for the brokerage lines of TD Bank. Over to you, Peter.
Hi, welcome everyone. As Catherine said, I'm Peter McCaskill, COO at NSBI, and I'm very honored, very happy to be here today. And so far today, I think it's been great. There's been some wonderful takeaways. Hopefully you and your business and businesses have seen something which is valuable for you to take home. At Nova Scotia Business Inc., we're committed to working towards a strong, thriving, and globally competitive Nova Scotia by attracting global investment to create new jobs around the province and working with companies in all Nova Scotia communities to be more successful exporters. According to Export Development Canada, a little plug for one of our partners, research has shown that when a company embraces exports, it's likely to be 30% more productive and experience annual growth at a rate of 20% faster than other companies. In addition to that, companies make 121% more revenue than average. So why export? Companies that export are more profitable, as our little banner says over there. Simply put, companies who diversify their markets experience faster revenue growth, and companies that export are more successful. Today, I'd like you to just remember 3 things from what we're here for and what our partners are here for and what you heard in the panel. We're here to help you find opportunities. We're here to help you build relationships and connections, and we're here to help you succeed in Europe and other global markets. The partners that we have that you heard earlier today are dedicated to leveraging opportunities in export from CETA. So I hope everyone who is interested in discussing their company's efforts have registered for the sessions that were mentioned earlier again, and the registration's out there. I think, are there still some gaps? You think you're full? All right, catch them while they're here. And again, I'd like to thank the Senior Trade Commission and everyone from Global Affairs who is here today. So right now, we're fortunate to have the Ambassador of the European Union to Canada, Ambassador Peter Oosthuizen. I've had the pleasure of meeting the Ambassador before, and I can share with you that the Ambassador is highly engaged and he's genuinely interested in our region. Ambassador Oosthuizen began his mandate in Canada in September. Previously serving as America's senior advisor in the cabinet of Federica Mogherini, High Representative of the European Union for Foreign Affairs and Security Policy Vice President of the European Commission. Ambassador Oosthuizen has held senior positions with the European External Action Service, including as Director for West and Central Africa. Prior to that, he was Deputy Head of Cabinet of Andris Piebalgs, the European Commissioner for Development. Ambassador Oosthuizen joined the Latvian Diplomatic Service in 1993 and served as representative of Latvia to the Political and Security Committee of the EU, the Foreign Policy Advisor to the Prime Minister and Under-Secretary of State, Political Director of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. This is a momentous time for Canada and the EU, and it's truly an honor to have you here with us today. Thank you so much for joining us to share your time, your wisdom, insight, and experience. Everyone, please welcome Ambassador Oosthuizen.
Good afternoon. And I don't know either this is the good part or bad part to speak over the lunch. So from one side, I think it is good because you will you don't need any other entertainment because the food is there. Otherwise, still, I think there are a few messages I would like to pass through my notes and speech to you as the businesses and as Canadian businesses looking for Europe. First of all, thank you very much for very warm welcome to Halifax and Nova Scotia. I would like to thank Global Affairs as well as Atlantic Canada Opportunities Agency for inviting me to come along and be part of this trip to Atlantic provinces, to Maritimes, and to have an opportunity to speak to you. And this was one of the ideas we discussed with Sanjeev and Eilish Campbell some time ago, saying that I think we need to join forces. It is not only for EU to talk to EU, it is not only to Canadians to talk to the Canadians. We have something in common, we have CETA, and we need to talk to each other and work together, because I think both sides, European Union and Canada, would like to succeed with this agreement. This is only my third trip to Maritimes, but I must say there is something particularly familiar about this beautiful province, Nova Scotia and Halifax. Perhaps it is the evidence of strong European heritage, what I see everywhere around me, or perhaps the proximity and the importance of the sea to life, as it reminds me of my own roots growing up on the shores of the Baltic Sea. Atlantic Ocean is a uniting element for Canada and Atlantic provinces with the European Union, but not the only one. Our focus today is on trade, economic growth and cooperation. In fact, I disappoint you, nothing new, because the trade existed already between Canada and Europe for many, many centuries. What is new today is how we trade, how much we open markets to each other, what kind of rules we apply, and how much predictability we provide. This is the approach to trade, and this is the new approach, and that approach has a name, and it is CETA, what we are talking about today. CETA is often seen as something unique and unprecedented in history of trade relations anywhere around the globe. It is called Golden Standard, most progressive and comprehensive trade agreement ever achieved. Therefore, today we are talking about something very impressive. Negotiators know everything about it, they know every detail, and they are very proud what has been achieved during the negotiations. But CETA is not for negotiators, nor CETA is to be put in the museum for admiration by millions of tourists. It is a very sophisticated, advanced trading tool of 21st century to be used by businesses, companies, individuals, all sizes of enterprises, all across Canada and European Union. It is a tool to be used by you. This tool does not require any complex assembly, but still it requires some action from your side. First, knowledge about its existence. If you are here today, you already fulfilled first criteria. Second, curiosity how it works. How it will work for me, my enterprise, my business. And again, this seminar today is the right place to ask all possible and impossible questions how in practice CETA works and operates. Third, readiness to test it. I do hope that seminar today will provide you with many convincing arguments and practical examples, and without delay, very many of you will look for business opportunities within the European Union. Using language of modern technologies, I would like to think that CETA is like a trade app. You have to download it, to test it, how it works, and you have to talk to other users to share experience. And last but not least, courage. CETA is challenging you, to step out of the routine and comfort. Look for something new, go somewhere for the first time, visit any of the EU 28 member states, and find partners for your business. Nobel Peace Laureate William Faulkner said, "You cannot swim for new horizons until you have courage to lose sight of the shore." And I'm convinced that your courage will be rewarded. But still, you might ask, how and why? Your courage will be rewarded as CETA is here to be used as of today. It is prêt-à-porter. You don't need to wait. Use it. Your courage will be rewarded as CETA provides clear market conditions and provides predictable rules. Therefore, forget about uncertainty for trade and your investments. Your courage will be rewarded as CETA brings you to economically sound and growing market of 500 million consumers. It covers not only traditional trade in goods, services, but also procurement, probably something you need to look more closer. In 2017, the EU entered its 5th consecutive year of growth, on average 2%, and forecasts for 2018 are in the similar range. Business confidence in the EU, measured by Economic Sentiment Index, is at its highest point registered over a decade, and unemployment is at 9 years low, with 235 million people at work. More people are employed in the European Union than ever before. CETA is rewarding for Canadian and European economies. We know that for every 1 billion euros we get in exports, 14,000 extra jobs are created in the European Union. Currently, 1 in 7 of all jobs in the EU depend on exports to the rest of the world. That's a total of 30 million jobs. If it is true for the EU, I'm convinced it is also true for Canada. And CETA might help to diversify risks and markets, diminish dependence on one particular market or one customer and consumer. We are also invited to think about tremendous synergies and impressive landscape what open, transparent, and predictable rules-based trade brings to Canada and European Union. Looking into future, we are invited to connect dots between CETA, CP, TPP, and beyond. Today, European Union has free trade agreements with more than 80% of the countries on this planet. And EU is the first trading partner for 80 countries on this planet as well. Canada has some catch-up to do on this, in this regard, and CETA will help. In short, we believe that openness combined with the high standards remains the most fitting way to make globalization work, and we want this idea to spread. Some like sunset, some like sunset clauses. CETA is different. CETA is a beautiful sunrise, bringing light for the day full of opportunities. Don't miss this sunrise, don't miss this opportunity. Don't put your clock on the snooze. More seriously, this is the moment when it gets real. Make it real and make it work. Make it work for your company. As the European Union ambassador to Canada, my Ottawa team and I stand by Atlantic Canada Opportunities Agency, Global Affairs Canada, your regional trade commissioners and others to help and support you, as well as to listen to your concerns. Use us for your success. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you very much, Ambassador. We appreciate those comments and the invitation. That's wonderful. And the Ambassador has said that he's willing to take some questions. So I don't know if we have a mic ready, if we have any questions. We have one right here. The mic is on its way, David.
That will be very challenging, I know. That's the former ambassador of Canada to the EU, so it will be very challenging.
I'm being
David.
set up here. Ambassador, most Canadians, I suspect, are watching with great interest the ongoing NAFTA negotiations, and with all the uncertainty that surrounds the discussions with the U.S. and Mexico, and potentially looking at even not that down the road, having President Trump table a potential withdrawal, a U.S. withdrawal. I'm wondering how the EU is, from your perspective here, watching this process and how you think it might play into where the CETA could potentially go in terms of business between Canada and the EU.
Mm-hmm. David, thank you very much. So when I came to Canada, I thought that CETA will keep me busy, but it turned out that NAFTA keeps me even more busy. So as the renegotiation of NAFTA started in the second part of 2017, of course, no surprises that from the EU perspective, being in Ottawa, in Canada, we are following very closely what happens in negotiations. And of course, we closely follow even today what happens in Montreal and what kind of messages will come out from the meetings of the chief negotiators and political level. Having said that, first of all, the NAFTA renegotiations, as we see it, is not only about NAFTA. It is not only about Mexico, United States, and Canada. I think this is by far a wider issue, and this is the reason why the EU is in particularly interested to see how this negotiation will end, what will be the outcome, and what kind of future actually on global trade it is going to bring. Additionally, when CETA was negotiated, and that, as you know, it took us 10 years, it was somehow idea of seeing Canada being one of the entry points to larger North American market. In parallel, as we speak right now, we are negotiating upgrade of our bilateral trade agreement with Mexico. So somehow we can say that we have two entry points in North America, and in the middle we have something else, but we don't know exactly what it is at the moment. So we will come to that point later on. But having said that, I want to come back to the point I mentioned in my remarks, that I think we should not concentrate only on NAFTA and seeing Canada being part of NAFTA. It is very interesting. It is interesting from the business perspective. But from the other perspective, actually, what Canada is achieving with trade agreements in Pacific, or going beyond Pacific into the Asia, I think is also interesting for the European businesses to see how those dots might be put together and connected. And that might create synergies we never thought about before. Therefore, yes, for Canada, NAFTA is extremely important. NAFTA is important for the European Union, but I think it also gives the opportunity for us to think that all of us together we need to do more on diversification.
Any other questions? None?
I will have my coffee.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, this concludes the plenary part of today's program. Before we move to the Export Cafe, it was brought to my attention by my colleague from Canada Business that we're not the only ones having such forum. Actually, they are also taking place in Europe. Apparently, in February, the Coventry Chamber of Commerce in the UK is hosting a CETA seminar for UK SME businesses who want to do business in Canada. So I think it's really wonderful to see that complementarity. Please don't forget to spend 2 minutes, please, completing your survey. And then just leave them on the table and we'll collect them thereafter. I now invite you to move to the Atlantic room. It's turn right, straight down this hall, and you'll see where there are two flags, Canada and EU. In that room, you will have an opportunity to meet with many of today's speakers. For those of you with the pre-arranged meetings, you know what time you need to be in the room to meet with whomever of my colleagues from the European Union, from the senior trade commissioners. For the others, there is no appointment needed. Come and speak with us. I'll point out we're going to have in the room Josie Musso, who is our businesswoman program manager. We have Claude Dagenet. There he is. There's Claude at the back, Indigenous businesswoman. You will have every one of the panel speakers, BDC, EDC, CCC, and by now you got the acronyms down pat, I hope. As well as Pascal from the European Services Forum and David Plunkett. We also have with us today colleagues from Agriculture and Agri-Food Canada. So if you're in any seafood, fish, agriculture products, beverages, those are the people you want to see. And of course, the programming people like Elise for Can Export from our department. So we look forward to seeing you in the Atlantic room, and I want to thank you very much for joining us today. It's been chock full, but have a good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and you can see us all around. The Global Affairs people, you know who we are, you know who the EDC person is, the BDC, the CCC, European Services Forum, mix and mingle. Pleasure to have you with us. Thank you so much for being with us today.